What if I told you that the same chemical making you reach for your phone every few minutes is quietly destroying your ability to find genuine happiness? Today, we're diving into the dark side of dopamine, the hidden addiction that's rewiring your brain without you even realizing it. You've probably heard dopamine called the feel-good chemical, but here's what most people don't understand. Dopamine isn't actually about feeling good, it's about wanting more. And in today's hyper-stimulating world, this ancient survival mechanism has become our biggest enemy in the pursuit of lasting satisfaction. A groundbreaking 2024 Stanford study following 15,000 adults for 2 years revealed something shocking. People with the highest dopamine-stimulating activities throughout their day reported 40% lower life satisfaction scores compared to those with more balanced dopamine patterns. But here's the part that will surprise you. The solution isn't what you think. Let me start with Sarah, a marketing executive I know who thought she had it all figured out. High-paying job, active social media presence, always up to date with the latest trends. She was getting constant hits of validation through likes, comments, and work achievements. But despite appearing successful, Sarah felt increasingly empty and restless. She couldn't understand why nothing felt exciting anymore. What Sarah didn't realize is that she had fallen into what neuroscientists call the dopamine trap, a cycle where your brain becomes so accustomed to high levels of stimulation that normal, healthy pleasures lose their appeal entirely. Sarah's story isn't unique, and millions of professionals worldwide are experiencing what researchers now recognize as anhedonia, the clinical term for losing the ability to feel pleasure from everyday activities. The constant bombardment of notifications, social media updates, and instant gratification has literally rewired our brains to crave intensity over contentment. But before we continue, there's something crucial you need to understand about how dopamine actually works in your brain. Dopamine operates on what researchers call the prediction error system. When something good happens that you didn't expect, your brain releases a surge of dopamine. But here's where it gets interesting. Once your brain learns to predict that reward, the dopamine release shifts from the reward itself to the anticipation of the reward. This is why checking your phone becomes addictive. It's not the messages themselves that drive the behavior. It's the possibility that there might be something interesting waiting for you. Your brain has learned that sometimes there's a reward, sometimes there isn't, creating what psychologists call a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, the most addictive type of behavioral conditioning known to science. Think about slot machines in casinos. They're designed using this exact same principle. The unpredictability of the reward creates an almost irresistible compulsion to keep pulling the lever. Your smartphone notifications work the same way, except you carry this slot machine with you everywhere you go. Dr. Robert Sapolsky from Stanford University explains it perfectly. We're not addicted to our phones. We're addicted to each other. And the phone is just the drug delivery device. But the implications go far deeper than just technology addiction. Here's what most people miss. This dopamine hijacking isn't just affecting your phone usage. It's rewiring your brain's reward system for everything. Your relationships, your work satisfaction, your ability to enjoy simple pleasures, even your capacity for deep thinking and creativity. Consider the modern workplace. We've created environments where people expect instant responses to emails, immediate feedback on projects, and constant digital stimulation throughout the day. This has created what organizational psychologists call continuous partial attention, a state where we're always partially focused on multiple streams of information, but never fully engaged with any single task. A comprehensive Harvard Business Review analysis of productivity data from Fortune 500 companies found that employees showing signs of dopamine dysregulation, constant task switching, inability to focus on single activities, need for frequent external validation were 60% less likely to reach senior leadership positions over a 5-year period. The reason? They had lost the ability to engage in what researchers call delayed gratification leadership, the capacity to work on long-term projects without immediate rewards. Now, here's the part that will change how you think about success entirely. The most successful people in business, relationships, and personal fulfillment share one common trait. They've learned to manage their dopamine system rather than being controlled by it. They understand something that neuroscience has only recently confirmed, that true satisfaction comes not from constant stimulation, but from what Dr. Andrew Huberman calls dopamine stacking, the strategic management of when and how you allow your brain to experience reward. Think about Warren Buffett, one of the world's most successful investors. He famously uses an old flip phone, reads physical newspapers, and spends hours in quiet contemplation before making decisions. His office in Omaha is intentionally sparse, with minimal technological distractions. This isn't eccentricity, it's strategic dopamine management. Or consider Cal Newport's research on deep work. He found that the most productive and satisfied professionals actively create what he calls low dopamine environments for significant portions of their day. These are spaces and time periods specifically designed to minimize external stimulation and maximize focus on meaningful work. But here's where most advice about dopamine detox gets it completely wrong. The popular approach of completely eliminating stimulating activities doesn't work long-term because it ignores a fundamental truth about human psychology. We need some level of dopamine stimulation to function effectively. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's essential for motivation, learning, and even basic movement. People with Parkinson's disease who have damaged dopamine systems struggle with these fundamental functions. The key isn't elimination, it's strategic calibration. Recent research from the University of Pennsylvania revealed something fascinating. People who practiced what they called dopamine fasting for extended periods actually became more susceptible to addictive behaviors when they returned to normal activities. Their brains had become hypersensitive to stimulation, making them even more vulnerable to the dopamine trap. This is like trying to manage your diet by completely avoiding food, then binge eating when you can't sustain the restriction anymore. It creates a cycle of extreme behavior that's ultimately counterproductive. This is where the successful approach differs completely from what you'll find in most self-help content. Instead of extreme dopamine detox, high performers use what I call the dopamine investment strategy. This involves 3 key principles that anyone can implement immediately, regardless of their current situation or lifestyle demands. First, they practice delay stacking, systematically increasing the time between desire and satisfaction. Instead of checking their phone immediately when they feel the urge, they wait 5 minutes, then 10, then 20. This rebuilds their tolerance for anticipation and makes eventual rewards more satisfying. This isn't about torture or deprivation. It's about retraining your brain to appreciate the journey toward a reward, not just the reward itself. When you can delay gratification, you actually experience more satisfaction when you finally receive what you were waiting for. Second, they engage in effort-based rewards, activities that require significant investment before providing satisfaction. This could be learning a musical instrument, building something with their hands, or tackling complex problems that take sustained focus to solve. A 2024 MIT study of 8,000 professionals found that those who spent at least 45 minutes daily on effort-based activities reported 65% higher job satisfaction and were twice as likely to receive promotions. The reason this works is biological. When you work hard for something, your brain releases dopamine, not just when you achieve the goal, but throughout the process of working toward it. This creates what neuroscientists call intrinsic motivation, the ability to find satisfaction in the work itself, not just external rewards. Third, and this is the most important part, they create what psychologists call micro-recovery periods throughout their day, brief moments of understimulation that reset their dopamine baseline. These aren't long meditation retreats or elaborate wellness routines. They're simple practices, like taking a walk without listening to anything, eating a meal without looking at screens, or spending a few minutes just observing your environment without any agenda. Let me give you a practical example of how this works in real life. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, structures his day around this principle. He starts each morning with 20 minutes of complete understimulation. No phone, no music, no podcasts, just quiet reflection. This resets his dopamine baseline, making him more sensitive to the natural rewards throughout his day. He then alternates between periods of focused work and brief recovery periods, never allowing his stimulation levels to remain constantly elevated. During his work periods, he focuses on effort-based activities that provide delayed satisfaction. During recovery periods, he allows his brain to reset and prepare for the next cycle. The results speak for themselves. Clear has built multiple successful businesses, written a best-selling book, and maintains high energy and creativity levels that most people half his age would envy. More importantly, he reports high levels of life satisfaction and genuine happiness in his daily experience. But here's what's truly fascinating about the dopamine research. The impact goes far beyond productivity and success. Dr. Laurie Santos from Yale University, who teaches the most popular class class in Yale's history, called The Science of Well-Being, discovered that students who learned to manage their dopamine systems reported not just better academic performance, but significantly improved relationships and overall life satisfaction. The reason is simple. When your brain isn't constantly seeking the next hit of stimulation, you become present enough to appreciate the subtle rewards that surround you every day. A genuine conversation with a friend, the satisfaction of completing a challenging task, the simple pleasure of a good meal shared with people you care about. These experiences have always been available to us, but our hijacked dopamine systems have made us blind to them. We've been chasing artificial highs while ignoring the natural sources of satisfaction that evolution designed us to enjoy. This brings us to perhaps the most powerful insight from recent dopamine research: the concept of compound satisfaction. Just as compound interest builds wealth over time, compound satisfaction builds deep, lasting happiness through the accumulation of meaningful, low-stimulation experiences. But most people never experience this because they're trapped in what researchers call the stimulation treadmill, needing increasingly intense experiences to feel the same level of satisfaction. McKinsey's latest research on executive performance found that leaders who practice strategic dopamine management were 45% more likely to report high life satisfaction scores and 30% more effective at making long-term strategic decisions. They had trained their brains to find reward in the process of building something meaningful rather than just the immediate gratification of quick wins. So how do you start implementing this today? Begin with what I call the 5-5-5 protocol. For the next 5 days, practice waiting 5 minutes before checking your phone when you feel the urge, and spend 5 minutes each morning in complete understimulation. This simple practice will begin recalibrating your dopamine sensitivity immediately. Then, identify one effort-based activity you can commit to for at least 30 minutes daily, something that requires sustained focus and provides delayed satisfaction. This could be reading challenging books, learning a skill, or working on a creative project that matters to you. Finally, create natural recovery periods throughout your day. Instead of filling every moment with stimulation, allow yourself brief periods of boredom and understimulation. Your brain needs these moments to reset and prepare for genuine enjoyment of life's natural rewards. The dark side of dopamine isn't that it exists, it's that we've allowed it to control us rather than learning to work with it strategically. The most successful and satisfied people understand that true happiness comes not from constant stimulation, but from training your brain to find deep satisfaction in meaningful, sustainable experiences. Remember, in a world designed to hijack your attention and stimulation systems, the ability to manage your dopamine is perhaps the most valuable skill you can develop. It's not just about productivity or success, it's about reclaiming your capacity for genuine happiness and meaningful satisfaction in an increasingly artificial world.